But before we get that started, we still need to kick off with a conversation of continuing about the NBA Finals, Niles. And obviously, we're a little bit surprised on the result through the first two games. The Knicks are up 2-0. By the time this episode's up, Game 3 will be done, but we're recording just a few hours before Game 3. But the Knicks took both games on the road, and now they're 2 games away from winning an NBA Finals. So, considering how the Spurs are right now and where they're at, what do you think they need to do to come back in this series?
To be honest, it's more of, as we talked about last week, I kind of predicted, Wemby having like a different role in the series, and that's what we've seen. The Spurs or the Knicks have to made it harder for Wemby to just stay on one side of the defense or offense. Because I feel like in matchups we've seen like Wemby prefers goes on defense or spends most of his energy on offense. In this matchup, it's kind of like he has to play both sides of the ball, and I feel like that's played a role in what Wemby has been able to his efficiency, his late game mistakes, his just overall. I feel like the Knicks' depth is bearing hard on just the overall depth of the Spurs teams, because we came into the series thinking they had a lot more depth than the Knicks did, but the Knicks have their depth in showing up, and the Spurs depth has not been showing up whatsoever.
Yeah, I agree. I think the thing that I wrote about what the Spurs need to do to come back in this series, I said they need to play more aggressively. I think that's something that I've noticed a lot in games 1 and 2, is there's been a lot of sequences where the Spurs are controlling the game. I think game 1 is a perfect example of that. You're up 15 points in the third quarter, and they really controlled that game well. The Spurs, since they're the younger team, they're playing at a really fast and efficient level, and the Knicks could not handle it. But as soon as the Knicks went on a small little run, the Spurs just lost all momentum, and that kind of was a similar thing for game 2. And they just need to control the game. That's what happened with game 1 and 2, is that the Knicks, they controlled the steering wheel. And I wrote that in all caps. You cannot let the Knicks do that, because as soon as they control the game, they're going to fall behind real quickly. Also, what has surprised you the most about this series? I have something that clearly stands out, but what do you think?
I think it's Jalen Brunson hasn't been statistically efficient, but the Knicks' depth has still been enough for it to get the W's in the win column. And
Yeah,
then,
I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, you can go.
I think for me, if you don't follow my TikTok at quickstoppix138 is below my screen. I had talked after game 2 about Karl Anthony Towns and his aggression and how much he stepped up in this championship. And you had talked about it, Niles, on what to look for on the Knicks side of it is how is Karl Anthony Towns going to handle that task of guarding Victor Wembanyama. And yeah, Wemby had a 22-point second half, and he played great in those final 2 quarters. But Karl Anthony Towns has been great on the offensive and defensive side. I was looking at the stat sheet before this episode, and when Karl Anthony Towns is on the court through the first 2 games of the series, he sits at a plus 25, which I reckon is the highest out of any player on that team. So, sure, Karl Anthony Towns, he's a stretch center. I expect him to have a good impact on the offensive side of the ball. But considering on how he's done guarding Victor Wembanyama, because I think Wemby has not been anywhere near as impactful as I thought he was going to be in this series. I thought it was going to be a little bit more smooth sailing for him. I was completely wrong about that. For that case, I really think that Karl Anthony Towns is my pick for Finals MVP right now. There's a lot of good options with the Knicks, but he has just been so efficient. And I even noticed when the Spurs started coming back and cutting that lead down, I don't think Karl Anthony Towns was on the court during that time. So it just shows the impact that he's had in the series so far. And I'm curious if it's going to continue moving down the road.
Yeah, to be honest, we saw the vision of how the Knicks could win, but I didn't think they could pull it off. And Cat's playing like 2 of the best games of his career. Over his career, he's been known as a guy that's a little soft, runs away from the physicality. But this series, he's going. It's not like he's shooting. He's having efficient shooting games. He's doing everything the team needs to win, and that shows to what his potential has been as a player. And he's really reaching it during this series. And I feel like he's really leaving us all out there.
Yeah, and I agree. I don't think if he continues to have this type of series and this performances that he's having right now, I don't want a single bad comment to be mentioned about Karl Anthony Towns for almost the rest of his career, because he's a great player. But like you said, there's so much conversation about him not being this aggressive center and how he's soft and all these things about his mindset. but he's proving everybody wrong right now by locking down and doing a great job playing against arguably the best player in the league right now, who is a really aggressive player. Something that surprised me the most too is it seemed like the Spurs were not ready for this task, which surprises me overall because they knocked out the defending champions on the road, which was such a big deal for me, and that's kind of why I was maybe worried I was not looking at the Spurs too much because I think I picked the Knicks on our episode, and I was
Yeah.
worried about that because I'm like, wow, the Spurs just had so much resiliency going to Oklahoma City and beating the defending champions, but them being the youngest team in like decades in the finals, it's really showing right now because they're so inefficient and they're so inconsistent, which I also talked about. You got to be more consistent all four quarters. Someone had posted online, I forgot who it was, but they talked about how the Spurs played really well, or no, the Spurs didn't play well for like 8 minutes in the last game, the last 8 minutes of game
Mhm.
one, and they lost because of that. You need to play a complete game, and if you have a bad stretch of maybe 8 to 10 minutes, it's going to come and bite you when it comes to a series with this much proximity and this big. And the show for the Knicks
Yeah.
too. You were up 14 the
I,
whole game. It went down in less than 3 minutes.
yeah, I think when you're talking about what the Spurs need to do to come back in the series, I think it's on in their guards' hands. De'Aaron Fox, we thought he was going to be a big factor in this series. He hasn't shown up
Mm-hmm.
up to the level he can play. And then Stephon Castle also turnovers have continued to been a problem, and then also he's just struggling to efficiency scoring. But Dylan Harper has been the guy
Mm-hmm.
in the guards that has played consistently. I think he's had over 15 points in the first two games of the series, and at times when the most important, I think last game in crunch time, they took Dylan Harper off the court for De'Aaron Fox or Stephon Castle. And I feel like that ruined their momentum. So for Mitch Johnson moving forward, it's more of relying on the hot hand with your guards, because I think all three of them are starters. It's not like you have to make a decision on a bench player. All three of them are starters, but Dylan Harper has been the guy coming off the bench, so he's been getting the bench minutes. But in the finals, you got to play your best players.
No, yeah, I absolutely agree on that. I think that was a huge mistake he made in game one and just the series overall. I think he's giving Fox a little too much playing time.
Mm-hmm.
I say the same thing with Harrison Barnes too. I know that these guys have the more experience, you're veteran players, but when the Spurs have came out hot, it's just because they play so fast. And Dylan Harper is a great example of that. He's been fantastic this series. I think he's really surprised me considering that he's a rookie, second overall pick. It's not normal to see a top three pick make it to the finals in your first season, and he's
Mm-hmm.
really exceeding my expectations. It doesn't look like it seems like he's been here
Yeah.
before.
He doesn't look like the rookie in this series, and I feel like you're seeing other players that you don't expect to look like the rookies look like the rookies in this series.
Absolutely, I agree. And we talked about Wembanyama a little bit, considering that he has not been as effective as we thought this series. What do you think is next for him for the next couple of games, depending on if the Spurs can take one on the road?
I think it's more of, I don't know if it's on him. I think it's more of the Spurs, game plan. I think you need to, mix it up. I think you need to put less of the earnest on Wemby on the defensive side of the ball, because you guys they need scoring. The depth hasn't been there. Consistently scoring the ball that they've gotten over the season, and then Wemby has kind of been. I think if I'm Mitch Johnson, I go try a too big lineup when Cat's out there, and then you
Mm-hmm.
put it on. You put Wimby on maybe like a bad at worst shooter, and it takes some of the wear and tear off of him, because he's played over 40 minutes in all these games. It seems like.
Yeah, I agree. I think aggressiveness is also something I talk about that so much about the Spurs.
Yeah.
I think he could be a little bit more aggressive on the
Yep.
offensive side of it, and even on the defensive side. He's the best defensive player in the league, and there's been so many times where maybe someone's driving in the paint and he doesn't go up and block the ball. He's literally taller than anyone else down there. I said that he needs to take full control of the game. I think
Yep.
the Spurs have to rely on him offensively, but there's a balance in maintaining how do you rely on him offensively. He needs to find a balance of playing selfish, getting mismatches. I think I've seen it a lot. Is that Wemby does a good job on switching defenders, but he doesn't get the ball enough. And if let's say Jalen Brunson is guarding Wembanyama, give him the freaking ball, and he's going to win that matchup 99 out of 100 times. But I said if he can draw double teams, I think that's what's so important. Is that if you can get Wembanyama going
Yep.
early, that's going to have them draw double teams, and that gives everyone else great looks. That gives Stephon Castle, Julian Champagne's been shooting great, De'Aaron Fox, Dylan Harper. If you could give those guys good looks while drawing those double teams, I think that offense will be so much better down the road. So I think the offense should revolve around him just point blank. But it
Yeah.
depends on two different sides of the ball, or two different aspects, more like it.
Yep. That's the biggest thing I've seen. It's just he's overworking himself on the defensive side of the ball because the Knicks, you have to overwork yourself on that side of the ball. They have so much depth there. But on offensively, that's just made him struggle offensively. And I think you put Luke Cornett out there, it takes at least for like 10 minutes, it takes a
Yeah.
little bit of that wear and tear off that you get during the NBA Finals game.
Yeah, and I think something that I didn't even think about heading into this matchup is, yes, Wemby had to go up against Hartenstein, who was really physical on him. But I think why Wembanyama had so many good dominant games against OKC is because Chet Holmgren was guarding him, and they're pretty much the same weight.
Yeah.
Chet's not a strong dude, so not having that anymore and having Cat be your primary defender, I think that's been a hard adjustment for Wembanyama.
Mitchell Robinson's been good too. Josh Hart's been
Oh
spent some
yeah.
time on him. Yep. So the Knicks are coming in waves, and it's just hard for the Spurs to kind of weather the storm.
No, absolutely, I agree. And with the Knicks being up 2-0, what have they done to have this advantage? Because I think so many people are surprised about this, and it's been a close 2 games, but it's not been as even and tight as we thought the series was going to go.
I think we harped on it before. It's just their depth is showing up, and the Spurs' depth isn't showing up. Like as I said before, they're coming in waves. I think whoever Mike Brown's putting out there, like they put Landry Shamit's been hooping these playoffs, but he's been playing important minutes. Jose Alvarado's playing important minutes. Like they're coming in waves, and I feel like the Knicks coaching staff, I feel like Mike Brown is a bigger factor in this series than people are giving him enough credit for.
Oh,
because Mike Brown's he's out coaching Mitch Johnson in every level, and I think that's what's his veteranness in coaching, and compared to Mitch Johnson, this is his first playoff run. So yeah, I think it's Mike Brown.
Yeah, I don't think people give Mike Brown enough credit as just his tenure as a head coach and his career, but I think he really deserves all of his flowers after this series so far if he continues this. I think you have a good point. I think everyone on that Knicks team is contributing in a very positive way. I don't really think there's anyone on that team that's had a negative impact so far. There's a couple guys I wrote down just on their impact. Josh Hart had 15 boards in game 1. He did not shoot well whatsoever, but he was so good on the glass. Mikal Bridges had an incredible game 2. I don't think people are talking about it enough. He didn't shoot well in the fourth quarter, but he did not miss during those first 3 quarters.
In the NBA Finals, in the NBA Finals is a crazy stat. They played 9 players, and I feel like that got more than 10 minutes in important minutes. That's hard to come by, in the NBA Finals. Yep.
Yeah, Sham is averaging 13, like you said, but OG Anunoby, he's also not getting a lot of credit right now. He's averaging 17 right now. I looked at the stat sheet too. That would really caught my eye. I know he's been fantastic this series, but not that efficient. And I think that's been great because Jalen Brunson, he's been effective, but I don't think he's been as great as people thought he was going to be. He's been banged up. He got beat up in that first half, so I wouldn't be shocked if he's dealing through a couple of injuries. But he has not shot very efficiently, but it's not gone to them yet. He had a pretty crappy game too, if I'm being honest. He stepped up in the clutch time, but it wasn't a problem because the rest of the team stepped up, and it takes weight away from him. And I think that's why the Knicks are going to come out and win the series.
Yeah, I was talking to one of my friends during game 2, and OG Anunoby was having a great game, and he texted me. He's like, the Spurs don't have a wing to stop him. And once I thought about it, that's what the Spurs need to do in the offseason. They need to get a consistent wing. They don't have a consistent wing.
Yeah, I think taking away from Wemby, the Spurs are a pretty small team. Thinking of it, they have a lot of guards, kind of like the Warriors. They have so many.
They have
guards.
A lot of guards, and they have good big men, but they don't have any good wings.
Yeah, I agree. I fully agree with that.
I think your prediction.
Yeah. It's the issue is I don't think the Spurs have been playing as poorly as it looks, considering that they're down 2-0. They haven't been awful. I mean, they made game 2 very close. I thought the Knicks were going to run away with that one. They pretty much manhandled them all 3.5 quarters until those last 5 minutes. I have Knicks in 6 right now. I'm going to give the Spurs the benefit of the doubt. I think that the Spurs are going to take one of these road games. I think people in New York, I think they need, again, I love New York Knicks fans. I think they're hilarious. It's been great seeing all the videos on the internet. I think that they need to take it easy just a little bit. The series is not over just yet. If the Spurs can get one game on the road, they get a home game, and then you have two more games after that. So it's going to be such a hard task,
Yep.
which is why I don't think the Spurs will be able to come back from it. I think this is a more challenging comeback than the 2016 Cavs had, in my
Yep.
personal opinion. Even though they're not down 3-1, just considering that you lost your home court advantage and you only have what, two more home games left, and you have to win four more, and playing the most hostile environment in the NBA, it's going to be so hard to accomplish. But I still have faith in the Spurs. I'm taking Knicks in six though.
Yeah, I agree with you. A stat I saw earlier today is the teams never come back from down 0-2 when those first two games were at home. And I think that is, I'm talking about the NBA Finals. I think that's what's going to come to bite them in the ass.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Knicks, all they have to do is win one of these games, and then one of these home games, and then all the cards will be in their hands.
Yeah.
And then they just have to come back and win it at the Garden in Game 6. And I think that's what they do. They do it at the Garden in front of all their fans. And I got to stand on my Knicks in 6 prediction that I've been riding with.
Yeah, I think I had them in seven initially, but I'm going to take it one game down. I think
Yeah.
it's almost impossible for the Spurs to force a game seven, and if they do, that'd be impressive. But I do kind of hope that the Knicks will win it on their home court, because that's just going to be
Yeah.
an insane scene. And I wanted to talk about this. This was like a last second decision before
Yeah.
we pan off the World Cup. Game three starts in approximately a little over an hour right now. I think that this is such a big topic of conversation that people in New York deserve to be pissed off about. I feel really bad for people in New York right now. This is your first NBA Finals game in over almost 3 decades, I think. It was 98 was the last time, so about
Hmm.
28 years ago. And you have Donald Trump in attendance. Zoran Mamdani said he was in attendance too. But for one thing, the tickets are so expensive. You
Yep.
have to pay at least $5,000 for a game, and that's so messed up. These are like diehard fans, and you're not going to have the legitimate fans going and paying over $10,000 for a mediocre seat. The other issue I have too is, again, I don't think politics and sports deserve to be in the same
Mm-mm.
conversation and blend, but it's so messed up that Trump is going to this game, because you don't have those watch parties. The bag policy is insane. It ruins all the fun for
Yep.
these sports fans, and it's just so inconsiderate. Because I know Trump is from New York. He said, according to him, he's a Knicks fan. I don't
Yeah.
really believe that, but like, you're literally ruining the experience for thousands of other people, and help considering maybe the whole freaking city. So I think it's so messed up that the Knicks are not going to have that privilege for Game Three. And to be honest, this sounds really silly, and I might get flamed for this, and this might be wrong. I think the Spurs are going to win tonight because of
Yep.
that. I really think it's going to happen, because people in New York are, one, too excited, two, it's a no fun league and they can't freaking do anything in the city. I think the Spurs have a little bit of momentum just because of those rules being imposed, and I would not be shocked if they win a game. As
Yeah.
stupid as it sounds, it
If they
does
win
play
a
a role.
game, if they win a game on the road, it's going to be tonight. I think there's too much being talked about in this game. I
Mm-hmm.
think there's too much going on. So I do see them winning the game tonight, and then I see them winning Game 4, whenever that is. I forgot what it was.
Yeah, game four will be on Wednesday.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that this is, if the Spurs want to flip momentum, it is tonight. I actually think that this is the hardest
Yep.
game the Knicks are going to have to handle in years, just because there's
Yep.
so much attention on them. Everyone in New York is rooting for you. You got the president showing up to a finals game. These tickets are going to go crazy. All these celebrities are showing up to the game. Everyone
I
thinks that you're
hate
winning the championship.
I'd hate being a Knicks fan, paying $10,000 or $8,000, whatever the price of the tickets are, and then the game being a bad game. That
I,
would be just ridiculous.
and it would not surprise me if the Spurs won by double figures. Just I think it would be the funniest thing on the planet that all this shit rolls down, all this stuff happens, and the Knicks lose. And I
Yeah.
would not be surprised if it does happen, and it's going to drive people insane. If anyone has the right mind to spend thousands of dollars, the thing that blows my mind is Celebrity Row is $1 million right now. They're going for $1 million. That's insane. You could buy a freaking house in San. That's like what?
Yeah.
That's like
It's a
almost
house.
20 years of rent for 27
Yeah.
North. Shout out 27 North. But like, that's insane. And my
Mhm.
last thing too, I saw this right before we started filming. Zoran Mamdani paid $1,000 for his tickets, and Madison Square Garden, he got it from them, and that also kind of ticks me off. I give him some credit because he's paying for his own ticket and whatnot. Good for him. But you're paying 20% less than an average fan has to pay to attend this game. It's about $5,000. He's paying 1,000, and I think that's not fair for fans whatsoever.
Okay.